good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Oh my goodness. Craziness, and I'm sure you're well aware of it. Whether it be Zelensky's, whatever the hell you want to call that, at the White House, or some of the nonsense that's come after. But I'll tell you what, the most concerning thing that I am looking at right now is the complete joke, if you will, that alternative media is becoming. We are, without a doubt, and when I say this, it's not intended to instill fear, it's not intended, I'm just making a statement. We are staring right down the barrel of World War III. And it's really concerning when you watch a video from so-called alternative media, alternative news, and instead of talking about what's really going on, they're running with left-wing talking points and talking about pretty much every one of our towns and cities are going to be war zones, and that people are going to be walking around and they're going to be videotaping war going on in their backyard, and full spectrum survival. That dude just gets worse and worse and worse. But that ain't bad enough. I got one more for you. Prepper Now, the other day, had actually made the claim that only you can prevent forest fires, but you can also fight censorship by paying his paywall to be able to see his members' stuff. So you can, I'm just making sure you understand this. You fight censorship, apparently, from profiteering from it. I'm just making sure I get this right. Because I think you fight censorship here, right? Not behind a paywall. That's not fighting, that's being a coward and circumventing it and trying to make your viewers feel like they're doing something because they're paying you money so you can say the same damn thing you could have said here to begin with. It's ridiculous. I pray for all of you. I pray that the Father gives you wisdom and, most importantly, discernment. Because you've got a ton of false prophets that are, and they're not all necessarily like biblical, as in any way, shape, or form of or from the Father. I'm not saying that necessary kind of false prophet, but they're essentially doing the same thing. Many of them are peddling fear because it gets you to click. Click, 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 click. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not fight censorship by providing a paywall that people can pay for you to claim that you're circumventing it somehow. That's cowardly, it's lying, and it's wrong. I wound up closing down my Patreon that I had. I mean, the Patreon's still there, but there are no levels that you can sign up for. You know, I felt guilty from the time that I opened that to the time I shut it, because it really didn't have anything else to offer. My life isn't exciting, so going and doing a life vlog on Patreon, well, that's going to be even more boring than the news. I had nothing extra to give all of you, or those who signed up. And I damn well wasn't going to withhold anything with any bit of the slightest importance to make people pay for it. That's ridiculous. And anybody that is doing that, shame on them. The Father doesn't put us here just to see how we can make a buck off of each other. Father put us here to try to help one another. And when you're profiting, you're not helping. Now, if you're trading, yeah, you barter each other's services. That's most certainly two people that's giving of themselves. But this whole notion that everybody in front of you is a prophet, as in somebody to make money from, I rebuke that 100%. Absolutely insane. So, real quick, I did have a couple of interesting aircraft over the last 2 days fly over. Caught them both. We live, this house is like so freaking quiet. So to actually hear something inside this house, it has to be fairly loud. And, well, a C-130 flying over, even if it's above 20,000 feet, we hear it. And, you know, while it's not totally unheard of for a C-130 to be flying over, we're not that far from Scott Air Force Base, there has been a very heightened activity. And I'm not necessarily saying at Scott, but just in general. I got an image. I just took this earlier this evening. Heard it flying over, not but maybe an hour and a half ago. And it was a C-130T. It's the U.S. Navy. And they left Colorado Springs, and of course it doesn't say where they're heading. But the more interesting one I caught yesterday. And this one, also a C-130, but not ours. So I made this thing here bigger to put it over here so people could see it better. That's the German Air Force. So yesterday, I don't remember what time this was, but yesterday, the German Air Force flew over with the C-130J. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I did not see that coming. But just kind of curious why all that's going on. So anyway, I've got a bunch of tabs open here. I'm scared to even try to count them. Looks like maybe 10. Yeah. I don't plan on reading a lot in all of them. Gonna make it a quick, easy night, or try. So the long and the short of it. In fact, I don't know how many of these damn things I even need. So, Zelensky comes to the United States. He doesn't understand. Because Biden didn't learn them. Biden didn't even remotely learn them. That, well, most of the American people aren't like him, meaning Biden, or Zelensky, for that matter. They just let him do what he wanted to do. They let him throw his little temper tantrum. They just changed his diaper and gave him a different binky and another rattle. And he'd be good for another hour or so. And I guess that he thought he was going to come to the United States and he was going to throw that temper tantrum again. and that it was So here's the thing. Either Zelensky is just totally just dumb, stupid on a level that is unimaginable, or we're all getting taken on a ride. It's one of the two, and I'm not real sure which one it is. Because that kinda almost looked like a bunch of bad acting. And I really don't understand the approach from the left and defending Zelensky and Zelensky's actions. Apparently, those people that are defending Zelensky and his actions have never seen how the United States works. So here's a little bit of an idea. You can double check me on this. Number one, you don't come dressed looking like you're going to the gym or whatever. When you go to the White House, you might want to step up the attire just a little bit. I mean, I'm not all about that kind of thing. I'm not. But if I'm going to the White House, I'm going to try to look as nice as what I can, because that's what you do, right? You don't get ready for church by going and finding the pair of shoes that has the most dog shit on the bottom of them, right? You try to dress up a little bit. You try to, something a little bit. And if you don't, that's fine. I personally kind of like churches that people just come as they are. But there's an expectation. And that expectation isn't just shared by the United States. There's a whole damn laundry list of things that you're supposed to do to honor the king or the queen of England, right? But see, this dude don't even do that. He shows up at, in the UK, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of the place, Parliament or whatever, and he'll dress the same way as he dressed when he was here. Or he'll wear jogging pants or some crazy shit. He did that visiting before. Not, the US too, but the UK. That is not considered acceptable. Just because he was let get away with it doesn't make it any more acceptable. So I think that was kind of strike one. That was a first level of disrespect. He couldn't even found a suit to wear a suit. And again, I'm not a fan of dress codes, if you will. But there's a place and a time, and it is what it is. But here's the other thing. And if you watch how these high-level official meetings go, they show up. They both sit down in some ugly freaking chairs, and they say a few words to or about one another, and then maybe answer a few questions from the press pool. And then they go have their meeting. They don't have their meeting with the press all standing there. And then after they have their meeting, they typically always have another location to where they've got two podiums, and the seal for each country or what have you on each one, and the flag's the same, and you know the drill. And then they will again address the reporters and answer some questions. Zelensky couldn't even wait until they got behind closed doors before throwing a temper tantrum. Now, the very least thing that he could have done was wait until they could have a private conversation. No, what Zelensky did, he did on purpose. He wanted it to be a public spectacle. Why? Because he has been taught, he has been shown that all the way up till now that was acceptable and that would get his way. Well, not to sound cliche, and I know it's probably been said too many times, but there's a new sheriff in town. So, I don't know. I just find it really hard to believe that somebody could be that stupid. I mean, that's just mind-numbingly stupid. You know, Zelensky's not the only one that gets a talking to about dress. And the only reason I mention that is because it is what it is. Luke Rudowski of We Are Change. My understanding, and this is from what Luke says, Roger Stone kind of gave him a bit of a hard time for showing up down at Mar-a-Lago dressed how he's usually dressed. And again, I'm not a big fan of dress codes and all that stuff. But when you're going to an event like that, it is custom, and that's a thing. It is custom that you dress nice. You know, a suit and tie affair. It is what it is. You may or may not notice, Luke wears a suit and tie for some of the videos that he makes now. He's getting more used to that because he wants to be respectful. And I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing. I want to see Luke succeed. I really do. I want to see Luke succeed more than I do Tim Pool. I trust Luke a lot more than I do Tim. Tim's already sold out. I trust Luke. But yeah, he got a talking to. And that's why you see him wearing suits from time to time, just doing his videos. Kind of trying to normalize it, I guess, a little bit. Looks weird to me, because I'm used to seeing him in a t-shirt and jeans, and, you know, looks kind of weird, Luke in a suit. Anyway, so Zelensky fafoed, and it didn't work out well. They told him to leave. From my understanding, he tried to come back before he left. And they would have no part of it. So I went and cried, I guess, with Fox News for a little bit. And I guess went home. In short order, I think it was France that he went and spoke with. Wait, was it France first? I'm not sure. I know I think he spoke with Macron, Starmer, and I think today he was talking to the king. They are all claiming that they got his back. Now, during that, whatever you want to call it, Friday at the White House, Trump had said, you know, you need the U.S. And I don't think Zelensky can comprehend that. I noticed from hearing different countries speaking today, they keep reiterating the same thing to him as well. Howdy, Guinea? They keep saying the U.S. has to be a part of this, you know? And I don't think he gets it. So where do we stand right now? I honestly don't know. I've seen both that we pulled funding, and then I've seen, all kinds of stuff. Let's see. I do have one thing here off topic. I don't want to miss this one. Trump designates English as only official U.S. language. Thank you. Maybe we can cut down on some of that nonsense. I'm sorry, but if you're in the United States and you call for customer support or something, English should be the first language. It blows my mind. In order to be a citizen of the United States, you come here legally, you go through the process, you have to understand our Constitution. You have to be able to speak at least some English. And I think it's a big mistake to back away from those rules. You know what? And it's only for the assimilation thing. That's all. It's important that there should be an expectation that if you come to the country, that's all good and well, but you have to assimilate to the nation. You can't expect the nation to assimilate to you. And I felt like that's what we were doing, when we had to start putting Spanish on everything first. It's like, that's a little odd. There's a lot of stuff, including air traffic control. You may or may not know this, but all air traffic control is done in English. Why? Because it's been standardized that way. The majority of countries on this planet speak English. Some, form or another of English. So that's why. It's what it is. And nations are allowed to hold on to their languages, among other things, good or bad or indifferent. Look at the United States and standard measurements. I wish somebody somewhere would just get rid of standard measurements. And I'm not a metric person. I'm not good with I'm good at doing the math with metric and stuff, but I get confused if we talk metric, how far a meter is, how far, I get confused. I don't know metric. I know standard. And it pisses me off because if we weren't so damn stubborn, we could all be using metric as our primary form of measurement, and it would be so much easier. Everything would be so much easier. But we're Americans. We're strong-willed. We're stuck in our ways. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's just another one of those things that, like I say, you have to assimilate to if you go to another country. If people come here, they have to understand that they're probably going to be expected to know standard measurements. And many people will be objective to you using metric measurements. So, anyway, a UK Starmer says Europe is at crossroads in history as leaders agree to steps to Ukraine peace. Well, I know this. I know that Russia isn't going to have no part of Ukraine being in NATO, nor are they going to fall for the old gag of, oh, we're just going to have peacekeeping forces here that happen to be a part of NATO. Russia's already said no to that. I also know that Zelensky wants back all the territory that Russia has gained in this conflict, in the most recent conflict, and he's going to want them to give up Crimea. Not going to happen. That is my biggest concern. When I say staring down the barrel of World War III, I don't know that the U.S. will be involved in it. At least not at first. I have a feeling that we might very, very quickly see a departure of NATO and possibly the UN. Because Trump wants nothing to do with this. Oh, wow, that's crazy about Gaza, Kenny. Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like some of this stuff that's going on is kind of meant to distract us a little bit from what's going on in the Middle East. Also, you sure don't hear much about the Epstein files with all this other stuff going on. Wasn't there supposed to be some files on a particular desk on Friday morning? And we've never heard another word? Nothing? So, I don't know. I'm kind of starting to think that we, the people, are getting taken for a ride. Because there should be a clear series of events that takes place if we're being told the truth, and I'm not seeing it. If the FBI, just the New York field office, are withholding files that they have been ordered to turn over, then where are the arrests? Why are they not seizing control of that building? Why are they not going down the list of command, locking people up that say no, or they don't know anything, or they don't know where it's at, or we see nothing. We hear nothing. It's just a bunch of nothing. And it's awful convenient that they're all right now hiding behind the Zelensky-Trump argument story. Yeah, Kenny, I don't know if they burnt it. I don't know if I highly doubt that there's anything that we're not going to get to see anything. And I very highly doubt that anything important is currently possessed by the FBI. I think that everything important by now has been purged at the very least. I don't think it's gone. I think there's copies somewhere, because that box, if you will, where all that content is, has a lot of power in it. A lot of power. Which was the whole reason for Epstein being involved in that stuff anyway. Was to gain that much power over that many people. We'll never see it. And we're not going to see any of the other stuff either. We're not going to get the skinny on the JFK assassination, the MLK assassination. We're not going to see it. It was a song and dance, folks. It was a song and dance. Now, what's important is what the American people do from here. It's our time, it's our turn to light the fire under these politicians and say, hey, no. You keep parading around, you paraded around with the Epstein files with a big binder display of people smiling and holding them up just to find out that there was nothing new in there. And then you make sound bites of saying promises made, promises kept. But promises haven't been kept. Not even remotely. So we'll see where that goes, but I don't think it's going to go very far. Nope. I think we've been hornswoggled. I'm just looking through here. I don't see a whole bunch of... Like I say, it's probably going to be a quick night tonight. I am tired. U.S. may launch Nord Stream 2. That's an actual headline. Top U.S. official suggests that Zelensky may need to go. I would say so. Won't give money to Kiev until Zelensky seeks peace. That comes from, who is that? Oh, Howard Lutnick. Sometimes I have a problem remembering his name. I've got an article here. Keir Starmer saying that they're ready to lead a coalition of the willing to provide military support to Ukraine, including the deployment of troops and aircraft, aiming to secure Kiev's positions once a peace deal with Moscow has been reached. And I want to point that out, that it says once a peace deal with Moscow has been reached. Like I said earlier, Putin's already said no to this whole UN NATO peacekeeper nonsense. Because that just puts NATO right on his doorstep anyway. I don't think slick words is gonna do it this time. I just don't. And then, of course, we got Mr. Sparkly Socks saying that they can send troops to Ukraine. So, okay, Mr. Sparkly Socks, maybe you should suit up and go there as well. I know some truckers that would probably give you a ride. Oh, man. Anyway. I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. I'm not saying that to get people to fear. Continue to get ready. I never indicated that it was ever a good idea to stop doing that. But make sure you use discernment. They say keep your eye on the ball, do your very best to be able to discern which ball that is to keep your eye on, because they're going to throw distractions left and right. Again, I'll say it's awful amazing that nobody's asking anything about Epstein files. All of a sudden, it seems like, everybody's satisfied, everybody's fine about the Epstein files. We cannot let them take us for a ride. And at this point, that's what it looks like they're doing. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. I am ready to snuggle up next to a cute dog and let her huff at me. Anyway, I'm out of here. I hope you all have a good night. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow night. As always, shalom.